Hello and welcome to today's videos. We cover patches, the MSI patches, 1612 and 1613 in hindsight. Something that I did a couple years ago. I stopped doing because people really didn't watch it, but something to think about here. So if you haven't seen a video like this from me, the way I look at a patch is a buff's a buff, a nerf's a nerf, and however Riot wants to give us the spiel, what their goals are with their decisions. To change a champion, I go with that. Now, whether it's effective or not is another conversation. Did the percentage in priority change? So, I look at it from a priority rate standpoint, which is something Game of Legend GOL.GG does with the champions. Now, we're comparing patch 11 to what ended up being patch 13. Now, not every region played on 11 in playoffs. Some played on 10, and that is what it is. It's a fucking mess. It wasn't uniform. But what I want to say is this is why we talked about seeding yesterday in the double elimination video. You have two patches. So that's literally, on here I have almost 20 champions written down that had alterations. And really, theoretically, only 3 champions got significantly affected by the buffs and nerfs, in my opinion, but it did affect many in some small fashion. So that's the thing, and that's why it's like, well, should have them play a double round robin on the patch that MSI is on, and then seed them and give them single elimination because the game is different. We saw Mage Bot, right? And that wasn't really indicative of this as much as it just was the changes that were made otherwise. And people just discovering things, willing to try things out and finally give things a go. In terms of buffs, we saw 2 successful buffs, in my opinion, to Poppy and to Syndra. So Poppy went from a 9% priority rate to a 62%, a 53% gain. That is massive. Poppy went from a fringe pick to nearly, 3 out of every 5 games we saw her involved. One of the most high priority, actually the third most priority champion on the whole patch. Went from 9% to third highest. That is a successful buff. Poppy definitely got buffed. Syndra went from 2% to 30%. Now, Syndra doesn't crack the top 10, but that went from a very fringe pick that we barely saw on patch 11 to something that you saw almost every series that won 5 games. Then meh, right? Champions that got buffed, they went up in priority a little bit. We see Kiana went from pretty much nothing to a fringe pick. So that's successful. If they didn't want to over buff Kiana, that works. Kaisa, pretty much a similar thing. We saw a little bit of Jax, a little bit more of Silas. Gwen went from non-existent to barely there. Olaf, a little bit higher. Tristana was a champion I expected way more out of, given the Mage Bot, plus just Tristana in general. I think it offers a lot of options in the bot lane with the W. And then you have Wei, which barely changed at all, but went from nothing to something. Nerfs. Successful nerfs. Varus. Excuse me. Varus went from the highest priority champion on 11. Highest priority to no longer in the top 10. Completely took it out. Right? It's no longer that high priority pick, must pick or ban. It went down to 42%. So, cut it in half. Lee Sin, 46 to 30. That's significant. I wouldn't say it was super successful, but it's significant. It took it from one of the top junglers to, it was here. It was the second highest priority jungler after Nocturne. Took it out, right? No longer that second highest jungler. Sion went from 27 to 11%. Then we see Cassiopeia drop a little bit. We saw her in Mage Bot. Keep in mind, it's orange for mid, but Mage Bot. Bard dropped a little. Senna dropped a little. Orianna. Orianna's obviously a comfort pick. Barely changed. It went from, the highest priority mid to still the highest priority mid. Xin Zhao, Nocturne dropped a little, but it went from the highest priority jungler to the second highest because Vi leapfrogged Nocturne, because you got to think about what regions we're playing on 11 versus 13, which does affect this. I acknowledge it does affect this, and I really wish things were more uniform, but they're not. Some people played on 10, some people played on 11. For even, I think some people even played on 10 during the regular season. So I think CB Lowell played on both during their playoffs. Like, not uniform at all. Not uniform at all, which makes it hard to set up seeding for a tournament because everyone was playing on a different patch, a different rule set. People don't give it enough credit. Whether or not you see it in your solo queue games is pretty irrelevant. For the 99% of people, it's pretty irrelevant what is happening in your solo queue games, in my opinion. Because, really, that's not pro play. That's a totally different ball game. Totally different ball game. You see a lot of these champions in pro play, you'll never see them in solo queue. Barely see them at all, because people just can't play them or play around them properly. So, that's the thing. We see rek'sai drop a little, went from non-existent to non-existent. K'Sante and Rise barely dropped as well. So mainly, Poppy, Syndra, Varus. And then a little bit of Lee Sin and Sion in terms of how this patch actually affected things. But also, let's look at here. We talked about it. You can barely read it because it was a last second thought and I ran out of room and I wasn't going to erase all this shit to restart. So, top 10 champions on 11. Varus and Caitlyn, the two top 80 carries on 11. We see here, nobody. Not a single 80 carry. Why? Mage bot. We saw a little bit of Cassiopeia in bot lane, right? I wrote a Kali twice. I don't know why I wrote a Kali twice. Shouldn't have done that. I don't know what's supposed to be there. I'll be honest. It's too late now. So maybe it's an 80 carry. Maybe it was Varus. Very well could have been. But Vi and Nocturne, two top junglers. It was Nocturne, Lee Sin, J4 up there on 11. We see Bard, Karma, Nautilus. Poppy, Bard, Nautilus, right? So Poppy moves up, Karma drops out. And then, like Caitlyn, newcomer though, Jace. Jace went to the top of the priority list on this patch. Went from not on the top 10 to the 10th spot. And it's not even on here, right? Playing around it. Individual champion priorities for the player and the team. Something interesting, actually, to see Jace go from nowhere to top 10. So, in my opinion, this patch definitely affected things, of course. We saw MageBot play a significant role. Now, people say, hey, in the end, XYZ player didn't play this or that to win. Or look at the priorities of these champions. Look at what was played. That's the point, really. Now, people say, yeah, but it doesn't matter if they're banned. I want to see, things that need to be affected are things that are being picked. So, okay, well, I usually get those arguments where people will say, well, this doesn't really matter. It's more so what's picked because that's what we watch. And I just say to myself, well, then let's just buff the champions that you watch to the point where they're must ban, and then you'll see something else played. Because people jump to nerfs in that scenario, but if you buff it enough, nobody will play it because it'll be banned. And Fearless, obviously, that can't be a thing. Fearless really affected this. Things used to be a lot different. I haven't done many videos this way, and I've usually do it in a much cleaner fashion. This was definitely thrown together. But it used to be a lot different when it was standard, traditional, classic draft. Now it's Fearless, and we see a lot more going on. So, this is the deal. Poppy, Syndra, Varus were the three champions really affected on this patch. So, thank you for watching. If you liked the video, like it. Subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, become a YouTube supporter, and hope to see you again tomorrow.